Boomer Ranger Ron. Good afternoon, Boomers. Yes, looks like we got a good micro SD card in there and a full battery. All right, welcome back to my channel. You're in my kitchen. You've seen my kitchen before. It's in pretty good shape. If Mrs. Boomer Ranger Ron was here right now, she probably want to tidy things up before we start shooting the video. Anyhow, we're going to start doing a little more cooking on my channel this coming season. We had a great hunting season last year with 6 deer in the freezer, 1 with a shotgun, 5 with the crossbow. And we made sausages, we made hamburger patties, we even did osso buco. That's from the shanks. That's the part of the meat below the knee and the ankle. Very delicious. Anyhow, we just picked some basil, and if you watch my channel in the past, you know I'm always in a search for Pesto Perfection. I'm a little bit of a snob when it comes to cooking and fine wine. We've got some basil we just picked from our garden. It's fresh, and I'll need to strip it. I'll need to get rid of all the stems, any bad basil. I'll need to be washed and then dried. So once it's washed and dried, we're going to do some just simple ingredients. Some olive oil, some Parmesan cheese, some roasted garlic, some pine nuts, and lately I've been finishing it off with just a touch of lemon, just for a unique flavor. All right, so stay tuned. Tomorrow we're going to do this. Right now we're going to wash the basil. We're going to make sure we dry it, and tomorrow we'll set up the food processor, or sometimes I use the other device instead of a food processor. I kind of like the mixer better. Anyhow, you could do it, the old-fashioned way. You get a pesto mortar, and you do it by hand, which takes a lot of work. And the Italian for that is pestare, to press. But we're not going to do it that way. We're going to use a machine. All right, stay tuned, folks. All right, to continue this pesto making process, I just want to share with you exactly how this should be done. Remember I mentioned we have to wash the pesto. We have to wash the basil, not the pesto. The pesto will become the final product, but the basil has to be washed. We'll have to strip all the big stems and things, get it down, put it on a cookie sheet to dry, and then it'll go, before it goes on a cookie sheet, it'll go into the salad spinner, and this spins all the excess water off. That makes it a whole lot easier, make it dry faster, all right? So do stay tuned. We're gonna finish washing, rinsing, spin drying on the pan, and tomorrow we're gonna make pesto. So be sure to stay tuned. And this is, by the way, this is small batch pesto. This is beautiful stuff that's made to perfection. You probably couldn't sell this and make any money, but if you just want ordinary pesto, you can go to the supermarket, you go to Costco and buy some. It's good on a lot of different things: pasta, salmon, vegetables. We'll show you some cooked meals before the season's over, so I'm looking forward to it. All right, thanks. After you've thoroughly washed all the basil, put it in the salad spinner, pull all the excess water off. You have it dry enough now, put it over here. We'll spread it out nice and neat, and then we'll put a couple paper towels on top to absorb some of the excess moisture. And then, once it's dry, we'll start the pesto making process. Hey Boomers, good morning and welcome back to my channel. Boomer Ranger Ron here, once again in my kitchen. I want to bring you up to date on the quest for Pesto Perfection. As I mentioned yesterday, you have to be sure to thoroughly wash, and use the salad spinner, and then dry the pesto. Try to get it as dry as possible. You see, we got enough here. We got a couple of batches for sure. I'm going to review with you real quickly a very, very simple recipe. The recipes aren't complicated, but I will tell you that typically you have 1 cup of oil and pretty close to a half to 3/4 of a cup of Parmesan cheese. I also happen to like Pecorino Romano. That's one of my favorites. This came from Costco in a big hunk, so I went ahead and ground some this morning. There's enough basil here. There's enough basil here right now to do probably 2 batches. You normally want about 3 cups of basil, 1 cup of quality olive oil. This is a Sicilian olive oil. Now, a lot of olive oil is coming from Spain these days, and it's all good. I like to roast my pine nuts. A lot of recipes don't call for a lot of pine nuts. Most recipes do call for garlic. There's a mixture of garlic and shallot in here because I was doing something the other day. But this garlic has been roasted, and there's enough garlic in here to make 1 batch of pesto. So everything you see right here is sufficient to make 1 batch of pesto. 3 cups of basil, a cup of olive oil, some pine nuts, 4 cloves of garlic roasted, and a cup of, I like more cheese in mine. I'm going to use a cup. But I'm probably going to mix half Parmesan and half Pecorino Romano. It's just, I like it a little bit better. All right? All right, so when I come back, we're going to bring the grinder out, and we're going to start grinding. All right? Stay tuned. Test this to make sure we're clear in this bit. We're shooting this off an iPhone. This is the extra pecorino cheese I just grated. If there's any left over, we save the container, put it away. We have our 3 cups of basil here. We have a cup of olive oil with some more for extra. As I mentioned earlier, we have the roasted pine nuts. That's an important thing. And we have some roasted garlic as well. All right. Good morning, folks. We are rolling right here. We're going to make some pesto. Got our olive oil ready. I'm using a blender. Now, some people like to use a food processor. You can certainly use a food processor. I just happen to be really comfortable with the blender. So the very first thing we're going to do here is add our basil. It's been cleaned, washed, dried, and ready to be ground. We're going to add, I don't measure really anything. They said one of the recipes called for a 1/4 cup of pine nuts. I just keep putting them in until I'm happy with it. I'm going to add some olive oil to get it started. Some recipes say a 1/4 cup, some say 1/2 cup. I'm going to put 2 cloves of the roasted garlic in for now. We'll add some of it later. I'm going to add about a 1/4 of this Parmesan cheese, and then I'm also going to do about the same amount of the Pecorino Romano. I really like the Pecorino Romano. Now you have to be very careful with salt because you already have a little bit of salt in with the cheese. Add some more olive oil, and let's start rolling. Apologize for the noise you're now going to hear. We can add the rest of the... I like to do 3 cups at a time, make my batches individually. You don't have to clean the unit each time. You'll just clean the unit when you're really done. Maybe I like a little bit more than 3. Let me add some more here. You get a feeling, you get a rhythm. Add some more pine nuts. Add 1 more clove of garlic. A little bit more Parmesan cheese, a tiny bit more garlic. You know, you can see I like more garlic than the recipe, and I like more, as long as the garlic is roasted. And I like more olive oil. I think that's key. Now I will add a little bit of salt. I know I just said be careful with the salt because you got salt in the cheese. I also like a little pepper. Now there's a secret ingredient I don't have out here at the end, and some of the recipes call for that. I think it makes a huge difference, and that is to add a teaspoon or 2 of fresh lemon juice. I may have some, in which case first batch looks good. I'm just going to make sure everything is mixed up well. Looks like we used the last of the lemon, folks. You know, I might try just a tiny bit of lime. Haven't done that before, but we might do that. We might just add a pinch of lime. First thing we're going to do, though, is we're going to test it. We're going to get a piece of French bread out here. And then we're going to take a dip in here, and they're going to find out exactly what. We really got this thing sealed up, don't we? You could use a cracker. It doesn't have to be bread. I like bread. Sometimes I like the bread toasted. But in this case, we don't have time to toast it, so we're just going to take a couple slices. Reach in here with a spoon. Perfecto. Perfect. Just make sure everything is ground up and give it one more whirl. You do this just to make sure all the pine nuts on the bottom have been fully ground. Now, at this point, a lot of people, including Emerald, suggest putting them in ice cube trays. This way you have very small quantities, and you can take out as many ice cube trays as you need and melt them, put them in your pasta, put it on top of your fish. I like to have a small container. You know, we always have a lot of guests, so we always have people for dinner. This is about a right amount for 2 meals of pasta. You could do a container a little bit smaller than this. Some of the people I give pesto to, if they would just return the containers, I'd have more small containers. But that's a story for another day. That's all there is to it. The search for Pesto Perfection, easily accomplished. Try some at home. I think you'll like it. That's all for now. Boomer Ranger Ron signing off.